Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. In the last episode, we finished Chanute Airfield. I quite enjoyed that map. I was quite surprised how well I decorated that map for the airport and all those things. In the last episode, I asked you guys to pick the next map I was going to tackle. It was either going to be Victoria Lake or Western Roundup, and Victoria Lake won that vote. So we're just going to jump into Victoria Lake. The description reads, for Victoria Lake, with a flat, empty land and ample space for expansion, the surrounding area of Victoria Lake lends itself perfectly for a recreational destination. It is your task to turn this beautiful nature setting into a lakeside amusement park. Okay. Goals are 300 guests, so just 100 more than... Is it 100 more or 150? Oh, 50 more than Chanute Airfield. Have no loan debts. Ooh, okay. So that one I need to keep an eye on. And then our optionals are 100 guests, so I'm assuming you get something, and then 200 guests you get something, and then you have to complete by year 2. Okay, let's just jump into the map and see what we have to deal with, because I don't remember this map's beginnings. So I actually want to know the goal. So what do we win? Oh, 500 for 100 guests. Oh, that's easy. So that's okay. That's nice. Oh, there's a goal we get for terrain. So what do we get? Oh, we get this stuff over here. I didn't realize we got all that space, and it's closer to the castle. Got it. So here's the space of Victoria Lake. So here's our lake. There's some paths around it. Nice. And guests spawn from here, walk into the park. We're using this entrance, which I don't... My personal opinion, I hate this entrance. It's just ugly to me. It's just so boxy and big, but I think they wanted to use it for just to show what you can do with it. So I'm going to ignore it, but I'm going to build some stuff here. I'm trying to remember what Silverette did in his playthrough. I think he did some like Victorian city or like village here and then kind of expanded out. I kind of want to do the same too, just my own style. Why reinvent the wheel when I can just kind of do that? I know that Silverette made this scenario, so this is like his scenario, so I want to honor it by doing some more Victorian type of buildings. But I want to add some of my own flair, like more London-esque stuff. Let's see what rides we get. Oh, I just realized we have 18,000. Ooh, that's a little low. Ooh, okay, so we have Carousel, Ferris Wheel, and Spiral Slide. Appropriate. Gravitron again. Okay. Swinging Ship. Oh, okay. Top Scan and a Wipeout. Okay, those are good. Coasters, Junior and a Wooden. Ooh, a Wooden. So these are good choices. A wooden would work either over here or over here. Junior can work down here. It depends. Oh, we have a miniature train. Ooh. Never thought to use the train in this map, actually. Are we going to get big enough to do that? Maybe, but we have to pre-plan that layout. It has to start from the get-go. And then we have paddle boats. Okay, cool. Let's see what shops we start with. Ooh, okay, appropriate ones. Burgers, hot dogs, drink stands, umbrellas, vending machine, toilets. Okay, all good stuff. Scenery, I'm more excited for this. So, we have our regular Booms and Blooms effects controllers. We have cacti. Oh, so here's our themes. Generics, medieval, steampunk, sci-fi, western. Oh, we got a Candy Land and Adventure. That means... Oh, we got these. Okay, these are great for roofs, and I'm going to use these suckers. And we have sci-fi. Wow, we have a lot of choices in this map. Wow, I can actually go crazy with some design stuff. Like, especially, yeah, these brick walls and stuff is great for, like, castles and stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is good. So, we're going to try to do the medieval... Not medieval, oh my gosh. We're doing... like Victorian, London-esque buildings. Oh, we got chimneys, good. We got cables. The only thing we're missing is pipes. But pipes are not necessarily important. I'm not doing a steampunk theme. I don't need to. Some archways are good. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot. So yeah, let's just get into building then. We'll get on to the time lapse. Okay, let's get into the beginnings of Victoria Lake. So the first things first was to paint the pathways because I didn't like the color of the default cobblestone paths. So those were changed to a darker tone and add some disdain colors too to make it a little bit more interesting to look at, because it's kind of my signature thing to do is just a color or do a multiple of the same shade of color to make it look disdained or distress or just old looking or used. The first building I wanted to get worked on is a food court right in the front of the park. This is like the main street area. So the building is just a, I don't know how you would describe it. It's like a European style emporium building. There's a lot of brickwork involved, there's arches and lots of windows. Kind of basically going for that type of style. I've done this style before in one of my steampunk maps actually, so it's kind of the same here. Just not steampunky. I won't be adding greeblies of like pipes and gears and other things. So I was experimenting with different types of windows too. The default windows in the game are not the greatest, but I want to try to make more custom windows as I venture through the campaign. The objective is to try to push this game's scenery to its limits, and I think I'm going to reach that point soon. Maybe, I will see. Because as the campaign continues on, the different scenarios will give off that different... Well, those different themes from those scenarios will help in that way. We'll see how I get to do all the scenery stuff. But right now I'm just doing brick detailing, window detailing, and then I'm also making sure that the facade of the building look like a building from like a theme park. So the back side of it is just regular concrete walls, and the roof is indented, and on top will probably be an AC unit, because again, I always have to put an AC unit on all of my builds, so I'm going to do that as well. Figuring out some lights and stuff, and then figuring out where banners would go. And I also wanted to do a circular type of window on top of the roof, so this was just experimentation first to see what I could do, and then it kind of migrated into a different style, just a little bit more basic and more clean. Because I'm always looking for, so when I put pieces together, I want to make sure that they connect correctly, or they have to connect in like a formed way. They don't look like they're just sitting inside each other, or they're sitting through each other, or going like they're just clipping through each other. So I try to make sure that the pieces that I use look clean, and that's the objective when I ever do piece merging, if you want to call it. So this is basically that here. I'm just trying to make sure that I have clean intersections and just clean interactions between pieces, and then there you go. You have now arched, like circled windows on top, and I think I really like that detail actually on the green building. I'm going to call that the Emporium. The first thing I wanted also was to get rid of the trees down the alleyway or down the main street. I didn't like the trees, so I decided to use the tilia tree and paint it pink. So I'm saying they're like cherry blossoms, kind of, maybe, or a cherry blossom lane, like from like a Mary Poppins. So that's kind of the theme there. So I used those trees there, and I like that actually a lot. And so it was on to the second building. The second building is just going to be a very generic European style house, maybe of some sort, maybe like a residence. And I used the temple building pieces for the tiled roofing, because I didn't want to go into doing custom roofing this round. If the map's themes permits me, I will probably do custom tiled roofing again, and I believe it's going to be Batavia K. I'm probably going to do it on. That's the pirate map, because pirate deserves tiled roofing at that point. So I just wanted to make my piece usage not as crazy, because when I played Maple Meadows, I noticed that there was a dip in frames because I used so many of those shapes on those roofs, and every single building in that map had custom tile roofing. So I'm going to watch myself not using that technique too often. Even though it looks really good, I don't want to necessarily bog down the map necessarily, especially with guests walking around and doing things. And then here comes the third building, and this is going to be indented a little bit inside just to make sure that my backstage area is just a little bit more backstage-like. That building is just going to be another generic residence of some sort, and that will house the restroom. So in total, we have 4 utility buildings here. We have, I think, a hot dog. No, it's a burger stand, drinks, an umbrella stand, and then a restrooms. Kind of fitting to be all in front of the park because it's the front of the park. This is the first thing you get to see. So you walk into the park, you want to go to the restroom when you came from. Well, you enter the park, you had to go to the restroom. You go to the restroom, you go buy some umbrellas, and then you go and buy some food at the Emporium, which makes no sense. But again, I don't have any shops in there. They're all shops, technically speaking. So on to just finishing up some final details on these buildings. I did add some details on these buildings off camera. So I encourage you all to explore my maps as I upload them, because in some of the videos I might not explain some details that I put in. So I encourage all of you to just go and explore them. There will be on the workshop every time I upload a video. At this point we're at episode 3 right now, and so this map is going to be on the workshop. So I encourage everybody to go check it out. On to the next project is to work on the first coaster of the park, because I was running out of money. Well, I wasn't running out of money yet, but I did spend a good chunk of cash on that Main Street facade. So next was to build a generic junior coaster. So it's just kind of just doing the basic things that a junior coaster does. It's intertwining itself. There's a lot of helixes, little bunny hills here and there. It's a very mild coaster. It's meant for everybody to ride. Parents and children should ride together. Blah blah blah. All that good stuff about junior coaster. And I rewatched Silverhead's video on Victoria Lake just to kind of get some inspiration on what he did. And I liked how he made the coaster go over the water. So I tried to do the same thing here, just a little bit different. And I want to do more interactions with the water, so I added maybe an additional helix here. And I just needed to go loop myself back to the station. I skipped doing a transfer track for this one because I just was being a little lazy. If I'm not too lazy, I'm going to try to do as many transfer tracks and maintenance buildings for the coasters as much as possible. But sometimes my laziness takes over, and then voila, there is no maintenance building. But there you go. There's my first coaster of Victoria Lake. It is a junior coaster. I quite like where it sits. The color of the coaster, I think it changes a couple times before finalizing the color when it gets there. In the video of Silveret's, he did like just a very basic cover over his building, and I wanted to make my building more of like a barn / workshop in a way. Just wanted to make it like this is the outskirts of the town or the village of this London. It's not necessarily London, it's like just a European village that has some shops for tourism. That's kind of the idea here. So I just wanted to just make a very generic looking building. But right now I'm finishing up some just details. As I'm building the park from the beginning, I'm always bouncing from little projects here and there, filling in little spaces with trees or a random prop, putting some lamps down on the paths. Oh, and I always have to remember to put down benches and trash cans because I'm in campaign mode, so those guests will complain about something if I don't put those in. So I kind of was trying to find ways to just fill in spaces, and I'm trying to let the map tell me what it should be, and so I'm just kind of doing that very slowly. So as you can see, I just put down the roof for the station. Sometimes putting the roof down first kind of gives you the shape of the building, and it's easier to work with versus just putting down walls, and then you don't have the visual cues of, oh, okay, my roof meets here. Then you can complete the building. So it is sometimes easier just to place the roofs first, and it gives you a better grounding of the shape of your building. And a very cool, I want to say, tip would be try to do, so to make your buildings not as boxy, you try to do rectangles, you try to do some like L-shaped buildings. That usually helps in not making them look boxy. And then trying to do overhanging roofs also helps too, because you have now these open spaces to see inside the building a little bit to help with that. So this kind of was the same idea here for this little, I want to say, cottage or warehouse or workshop type of building for the junior coaster. And I think it was also fitting to have this little roof right above the queue, so it's just a small cover, and then the guests go through the cattle pen into the main queue to the station. And then I thought it was fitting to add a tower / spire on the building. I don't build a lot of spires on any of my stuff at the moment. I'm going to try to utilize that more. I do think spires add some interest and it adds like a point of interest for the guests to look at, something to kind of lead your guests to said ride. I think that's kind of the philosophy of doing that. And so I kind of was going to do that here. I think most of the coasters in here did that. And then I did a quick buoy cover or buoys around the helix because I was anticipating on putting in the paddle boats, but I didn't do it. So it was kind of for no reason at this point. I kind of just left them there. It happens sometimes when I have an idea and I pre-plan for it, like I did with the buoys. Sometimes it just doesn't go through because I didn't find a good spot, in my opinion, for putting a paddle boat station down, and I just skipped that ride entirely. So I wanted to also finish off the street with a cool little view with the Ferris wheel kind of at the water's edge, and it's just kind of at the end of the main street, just suggesting to guests come to this Ferris wheel. This is a nice view onto the lake, and I think it was a cool little interaction. And then more cherry blossom trees, just add some more of the consistent theme of that plant for the main street area. So it was kind of like a Mary Poppins homage type of thing. And then some simple covers on top of the exit and the entrance. Sometimes doing basic or simple builds can always bring a flat ride's prettiness up, or it just makes it look better. Just doing some simple stuff, not going overboard. But looks like I'm almost done with this time lapse, so that means we're going to look at the park as it is operating, and we'll see what I do in that. So I'll let you guys go over there, and I'll see you over at the break. Okay, let's just take a quick tour of Victoria Lake at the moment. So this is all the things I did so far. I wanted just to see how the park would run, and it seems to be running pretty good. I'm getting about $124 a month at this moment. The only downside is I used all my money, almost all my money. I didn't want to spend all of it, but I have some things to finish up. Like I need to decorate this top scan, which is apparently very, very popular. I need to maybe do some more detailing in the main street area, kind of add some bushes, maybe some planters, maybe. I know on Silveret's video he did some tapestries across, tapestries or banners across the main street. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I basically did my own version of a junior coaster that he built as well. I'm going to add a catwalk here later. Maybe off camera, I don't necessarily need to show you that. And then the next thing I want to try to do is build a wooden coaster over maybe back here. Maybe theme it to an industrial factory, because I think that would be very fitting for it to be something that's very industrial and London-like. So I'm going to try doing that. I did change some of these windows here. Had to change them out a little bit. I didn't want to make... they felt like they were too big, or they just felt weird to me. I did add this cool little detail on top of the depot, just to add some interest and make it kind of match these roofs, and so just kind of make it look more interesting, and just make this backstage area just more, backstagey like. I might have to add some more gray flooring here, maybe. Let's just do something like this, suggesting that this is all just backstage area for cars, trucks, or something, or maybe just storage area. Maybe. Oh yeah, I don't have a I just realized I don't have a break room. I should just place the break room back here. It just takes usually up all my money, but hey, it happens. So I need to do that. Quickly put down a break room. Oops. There we go. Break room finished. Okay, now we have a break room finally, because I didn't have a break room for the longest time. But again, I don't have a lot of cash. So I need to pull out a loan. That's going to hurt on one goal. I did achieve 1 gold. It was the 100 guests that gave me $500. I'm almost to the second goal, the 200 guests. I will probably not be using that terrain. I will not. There's no point at this point. There really is no point. I won't be using it because I kind of like the idea of keeping toward the lake and just staying with it. Well, all of this is basically it's like 2 lakes, isn't it? 2 lakes kind of cut with this in the center. That's cool. And so yeah, this is so far Victoria Lake. I like it so far. We're gonna continue on and do some wooden coaster shenanigans and just build a factory of some sort. So let's just get on to that. So let's get into the next phase of Victoria Lake. Over here, I wanted to redo the seating area near the water. This is the sitting area that kind of would support the Emporium or anywhere else in the map. So I just wanted to make it a little bit more interesting shape until instead of that 3x3 grid square. So I just changed that. And then on to figure out the theming, or like not theming, it's more like the covers for the top scan, and that's needed to happen. And then I quickly went over to the junior coaster and did a quick color change to the roof cover, or the queue cover quickly. I just wanted to change it to a different color to make it not match the building. Because I feel like when you have everything match the same color, you kind of lose like interest in it because it doesn't look as interesting because everything's the same color. So I try to break it up by changing the color of a different reddish tone. So over here was just going to do a simple cover for the top scan, because top scans are honestly really hard to theme around because they do spin a lot and they have a huge radius. So it was just fitting to make a simple queue cover at the bottom of the hill and then just kind of go up to the top. And then made a bigger queue I made a bigger queue for top scan just to add a little bit more capacity because it was apparently a popular ride in the park. I think I priced the ride at $7. It was actually making me a good, decent amount of money, and that was actually very helpful in, well, making money because I need to pay off the loan that I just pulled out. I think I pulled out an $11,000 loan. I think at 2 or 3%. I can't quite remember the actual numbers, but that's kind of where I did. Because I needed that money to build the next section, which was going to be the more industrial area for the wooden coaster. And I felt like the wooden coaster would be my centerpiece in Victoria Lake. So it would be in the back here, the longest walk to a attraction, and onto just designing said layout for the coaster. I didn't copy, the coaster wasn't really copying any specific coasters in real life. I kind of just was going off what I thought would look cool and what would be neat for interactions between the coaster and the land itself, and just kind of just doing what I was just doing. So lots of ins and outs. It crosses itself quite a new number of times. I just thought it would just be more interesting to make it like a spaghetti bowl versus the other one I built for Chinook Airfield, which was more of an out and back type of typical wooden coaster. This one's more of a twister type wooden coaster and trying to just in itself. So that was kind of just fitting. I wanted to do some more interesting track interactions and more using diagonal pieces to my advantage. And I like that I did one of the brake runs or the block sections on a diagonal, which is really nice. And so that's what I did. And then the final stretch would be to kind of do a last, a last helix right before the main brake run into the block brakes and then into the station itself. I was already trying to plan to do a transfer track for this coaster too, and then I got lazy and got rid of it. And you'll see later why I got rid of it, or I didn't even build it. I got rid of it in my head. I was like, I'm not going to do it. So I'm glad I didn't do it because I have some cool flat ride interactions with the coaster, and I do like the interaction because I like the idea of having rides either surrounded by a coaster or there's pathways that interact with the coaster, like with the drop after the first block break is a bridge that leads into the little courtyard where the factory would be, and I kind of like that interaction. And I would imagine that would be like foggy down there with some misters or something, or maybe that's where the camera spot is. Honestly, I could have put the camera spot in. I didn't do it. I forgot to. do that. I keep forgetting that's an option of extra income, because you can, I think, price pictures up to $4 and the guests won't really complain. I think $5 is pushing it, so I keep forgetting that that's an additional thing I can make my coaster do, is have pictures included. So I want to keep that in mind next time. So the factory was modeled after a concept art I found on ArtStation from Anno 1800, I think? Yes, 1800. So they have some pretty cool building references that I pull from a lot, and they had this one specific factory that I think it was like a car factory or something. So there's a lot of brick, tall, very, very tall building with iron slated roofs, and I felt that was fitting for the coaster station and kind of a big factory, kind of a centerpiece, and I did enjoy building this section a lot. So Anno 1800 is really good for London-esque European type style buildings if you're looking for a reference to use, because I find it easier sometimes to translate concept art into Parkitect versus real pictures. Sometimes real pictures help a lot in some of the style, but I don't know, concept art just reads better for me, so I just use concept art a lot in some of my references. It's kind of the trick that I do, and ArtStation is a really good resource for said inspiration and reference. So right now I'm figuring out where my giant smokestacks would go, and they're all just made out of cylinders at smaller sizes. And then I wanted to try to use the cable piece, that's one of the corner pieces, as like an iron ring on top of the smokestack. And then the final touch was a sandwich cookie on top as the smokestack's top, because it has that little decoration on the cookie, like the it's like, what was it called, checkered? It's like checkered on top, and I felt that's very fitting for it. A somewhat brick style chimney, and I've used that technique a lot lately, and I love using the cookie piece as a chimney topper. And then I was trying to fit in a wipeout. I didn't have the cash for it, but that's where the wipeout's going to go, is in that little spot, and I felt that was very fitting to fill in that spot, even though I could have easily put in a transfer track and then a maintenance building, and I just felt it would have been a waste of space, and I'm glad I put that little flat ride in, because it added some more interest to this already pretty plain factory. So I'm always trying to find ways to fill in my space efficiently and trying just to make it look nice, and I'm quite happy that I have that little space filled in with that little flat ride, that Wipeout. Wipeout's actually a good little ride to use. Space is not the blueprint of that ride is not that big, and it's quite easy to kind of theme around anything, because it's kind of a very plain looking ride. All I have to do is just change the colors to kind of match the surrounding area of the industrial area, and then I called it good. So there it is. It looks pretty nice, and now I'm just doing fence work and then some bush detailing and some other objects that I need to put in. As I was building, the power surge was researched, put that down. Felt like it was fitting to put on the edge of the lake, and then I actually made more land, suggesting that they filled it in with extra stones or earth and just planted it down. So it's like some type of oil rig of some sort. I'm not sure what it could have been, but just doing basic stuff, basic builds, not going too heavy crazy, because I still have money to worry about. I'm sitting at $2,000 at the moment. I'm also trying to beat the optional goal, which I failed on doing. So I tried to pay my loan in time, and it didn't work out. So I kind of just left it and then just continued building things as the money rolled in. Because at this point, when you have like at least 500 guests, I can see here, you actually start rolling in dough, and it's actually really easy to start theming things. So I think the coaster's priced at $10, and I know most of like the thrilling flat rides are $7 or $6. Usually those are the numbers I use, and those work out really well for me. So now we're at this point very far on the other side of the map. It was important to add an additional depot and then add a restaurant to accompany that, because that's a long walk to go get a burger on the other side of the lake. So I needed to build some type of simple warehouse to kind of match the industrial feel, and then just add a depot, and then there you go. It is a very simple build, nothing too special or crazy. I did make some cool little vents on the side of the building. I think you'll see that in about a couple seconds here. It's made of, I think, shapes and some pyramid pieces. Yeah, here comes the shape. It's just kind of dark gray, and then the pyramid pieces just kind of sit on top, and then there you go. There's some vents. That's a really cool way to do it because those pyramid pieces are shiny, and it helps out a lot. And also, there's also a bathroom here in the corner near the helix of the coaster. And then I needed some more interest on the water, so I think the spiral slide was fitting to put it on the water, and then kind of do a dock inspired build on it's just copying what the Ferris wheel had, and already the looking deck already had that feel, so I kind of wanted to match the theming here, give that consistency, and so just very something quick. I'm surprised how popular that spiral slide is. And then the last bit, I had some issues finishing out this corner, and I wanted to build, well, I think it was appropriate to build a church. European style church. And again, I want to thank Anno 1800's concept art for this, because I found a concept art of a church and it was quite nice. And I just kind of copied it slightly. I kind of pulled some features from that concept art, like some of how the tower is built and how some of the gingerbreading is and the detailings on the walls and the pillars. I kind of used that all. And so it's kind of a cool idea to kind of add a point where the guests come off the beaten path to take a rest, and it was kind of fitting, and it also helped with filling in the backstage, this blank area. I didn't want to put another ride because I felt like the ride would have been out of place without a certain building, so this is just at this point I just wanted to build something, I don't know, very detailed. And I went very detailed on this build. I think I spent about maybe 45 to 50 minutes on this little church. I quite like how it looked, and it's a very inviting church. It kind of just sits here on the edge of the lake, kind of on the hill overlooking it. So just imagine you're at like dusk, and the water is reflecting the nice orange glow of the sun setting, and you're at the top of the hill near the church, and it's just kind of just nice looking. I can just imagine it in the park. It would be a very nice little place to be. Kind of just take a relaxing, maybe dinner break, or a place to sit down and just kind of chill because you've been riding rides all day. I think it would be a nice place to go. So that was kind of the main objective of this little area. So yeah, it just adds some interest. Most of the techniques here are just using shapes at 45 degrees. And just adding some of the regular roof detailings that I've done before on the roofs. And the church is actually shaping up pretty well. It doesn't look like a church just yet because it's just like the basics of the shape of it, and just trying to figure out what pieces I could use, and using pieces wisely without having pieces that are redundant. Like I was trying to do some different type of styling here at the bottom of the building, and so I use a different wall. I didn't want to just hide pieces inside pieces. That would have been a waste, and that hurts on performance eventually. So I try to use my pieces quite wisely. So yeah, just doing that, and doing some simple bushes and some cypress trees. Well, actually, those are not cypress trees. Those are polar trees, right? I think they're called polar. And then on to making some windows. I wanted to use the candy canes, but I felt the candy canes were a little bit detached because they were not fully white. They have that metal glow to them, or the metal texture to it, so I opted not doing that and just went with the shape technique again that I've done before, making these little arched windows out of cubes and cylinders, and then adding the windows from the details tab and just kind of go from there. And then some doors. So some of the pieces that I didn't have in the beginning of Parkitect was the pieces I use a lot here. So like all the 45-degree shapes, the doors from the Taste of Adventures, all the cool things. I like that the old maps got the Taste of Adventure and Booms and Bloom treatment on getting those pieces available in campaign plate, which is really nice. So just finishing up the details on these windows, making the windows look pretty church-like. Then added these little domers onto the roof to add some more detail. And then added some stone decoration inside the tower to give it some more interest. I was experimenting with different pieces. And that's what's the cool thing about Parkitect, that all the pieces, almost all of them are recolorable, and the moment you change the color is now a different material. And I really enjoy that. That's the best part of Parkitect. It's kind of like model making in itself. You just repaint it, and voila, it is now a metal piece instead of a wooden piece. And it's just perfect. I like just how it goes. A quick little thing about the tower. The top of the tower actually has vases on it, and I made them grayish, like looks like metal spheres on top of a pole. So I use vases on top, which is a technique I've used before. And I like using pieces not as intended, and I encourage you guys to do that as well. It's always fun to see a piece and imagine that, oh, this is something else entirely. So we're closing up here at this point. The church is basically done, just doing some recolors and touch-ups. And I need to finish that window on top right above the doorway. And I'm going to call it good here. This is the complete version of Victoria Field, and we'll take a quick tour of the map. We'll look around, see what's up, and then we'll discuss about the next map in the live through. So I'll see you guys over there. Welcome to Victoria Lake. I want to show you all the things that I did for Victoria Lake, and also I need to finish one of the goals. So let's just recap ourselves on the goals of this scenario. So we need to have 300 guests in our park, have no loan debts. I got this optional goal, but I did not make this optional goal because I'm sitting at year 5. I knew I wasn't going to make this, especially with the decorating part of this game, so I'm not going to stress out about not getting gold, but I'm probably going to go back into it maybe on my free time and just do my spamming ride technique and just finish it there. But for in this case, I'm just doing decoration, so it doesn't really matter. So let's start off with just showing around the Main Street area that I built first in the first time lapse. So here's just the main hub, Main Street. So Emporium style building with just generic buildings next to it, so some European descent. I decided to put the Ferris wheel up in front with some harbor detailing with these poles and some of these cylinder detailing. And the first coaster we got was a junior coaster. And I do like this coaster. I opted not to do the catwalks this time because I really didn't need to. I don't have to do it all the time, but if this theme permits me and I feel like it would add interest to it, I will probably add more catwalks, but it's not that big of a deal for me personally, so it's fine. So the junior coaster just goes around, does its helixy things and then ups and downs, and then it kind of has an interaction down here in the water. I put these water buoys here because I was gonna build a. How funny! I was gonna build a swan boat, paddle boat type of thing, and I just didn't do it because I just didn't feel like it was gonna be fit in my scenario. I mean, I could put them in maybe like a station here or over here, but I'm not really like keen on adding it. It's not really gonna maybe make my park plus the experience, so I'm not really sure. So it's okay. And then over here I added additional 2 rides. So they top scan with this interesting looking just queue covers, just experimenting with queue covers. And I was surprised that I got the adventure pack in here still. I love using these as like tile roofing without using cubes. Even though the cubes really look good, like in my first map, Maple Meadows is like perfect stuff. So, and then here's the spiral slide. The second area that I worked on after that was to do the wooden coaster and the industrial / area. So it's funny because like this park actually has 2 themes. We have an industrial area and then like a more European village up in front. So I'm kind of cool that it's really cool that I actually was able to squeeze in 2 different like themes in the area, but they all bounce off each other. They kind of copy the same build style or building theme. So we have a gyro drop. I think it's called a gyro drop. Yeah, gyro drop tower. And then we have a power surge, a restrooms building, and then the wooden coaster that sits quite in the back. I did like this layout a lot. It's very curvy, very twisty and turns, and it just kind of spaghetti bowls in itself right here. Like it crosses itself like 4 times, 5 times here. Like it just crosses itself so many times. And I wanted to make it like some type of factory build, and so I think the station fits really well for this coaster. And then I fit this wipeout right here, again with these covers and stuff like that. Kind of works out well. And then I added a quick little restaurant booth or warehouse that has 2 buildings in it and a depot to connect with pipes. And then as I was getting close to ending the scenario, I was having issues with filling in places. So I felt like the church would be just a plus on adding a point of interest for the guests to kind of come off the beaten path and kind of just chill in the area, to kind of just relax and get away from the rush and the crowdedness of this main thoroughway, and just kind of just take a chill pill. I know that there's a staff room in here, so it was an additional use for this building to add a staff room to give my employees a halfway point instead of going all the way back to this staff room and taking a break. So at least we have it halfway through the park. I could add another staff room if I'm really ambitious back here or something, added a little building and then added a path, but I feel like this just works better to put it inside the church. But yeah, all in all, this scenario was quite fun and challenging at the same time, especially the paying off the loan stuff. That's always interesting. I keep forgetting how hard that is sometimes if you pull out a loan. I didn't pull out a giant loan. I pulled out about, I think, an $11,000 loan for this coaster. So let's just go and pay that off now. Actually, wrong window. Let's go find it so we can see. So campaigns. Here we go. Let's just pay it off. I mean, I have $32,000. There's really no trouble here. So there we go. And then, yay! I won the scenario. Literally, that's all it takes. I mean, I could have easily done this, but I was in the decorating mode, and I really wanted to make sure that the park looked pretty snazzy. And I'm glad I filled in this corner, because the longest time this was, excuse me, empty. It was very empty and just not looking good to me. So there we go. I beat the scenario. Let's quickly save, and then let's see what the main menu does. I'm excited. I think it's the castle is our trophy, isn't it? Because that's probably what it is. Yep, it's the castle. Yep. That looks pretty cool. I like how Sylv used some of the pieces and things like that. I mean, there's newer techniques that I know of that would probably brush it up, but it's a pretty good little decorational piece. There we go. 1 gold coin, and then it extends out. And then we go across to here. Coral Island. Yeah, Coral Island. Coral Cardero, I think it's called. So this is the crater jungle type map. It's kind of interesting. So I didn't realize that this had a number. I saw that it says 4 out of 5. So I have to beat this map, or beat this map to go into the next area. I didn't realize. Okay. So, but probably the next scenario is going to be Western Roundup, because I really want to get into that map. I want to do some Big Thunder Mountain stuff. I really want to do that. What's the goals from this one? It says 800 park gas. Oh, so I see how that's a jump. Wow. Could I beat this in under 2 years? Maybe. Roughly. I'm not going to rush myself, but yeah. I'm going to say thank you for my patrons for the continued support. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can. I'm really enjoying doing this series so far, so I'm probably going to buckle on down and continue going through the campaign. And maybe work on American Adventure here and there, because I need to finish it. But I'm having a really fun time. I'm really excited for Western Roundup, see what that's all going to be about. I don't remember when I did it last time. It was a long time ago, about 4 years ago, I think. But I have some cool ideas. I hope I can do a Big Thunder Mountain type ride with mountains and rocks and the thing I usually do with shapes. I hope the money won't hurt me doing that, but I'm probably going to spend most of my time doing that, trying to make that coaster look as pretty as it can be. So yeah, so thank you for you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.